What up, everybody? It's DJ Lemon again. Welcome to part 2 of my video series of the QSC Touchmix 8 and how to set it up for a DJ. So if you saw my first video, you would have seen that I set up the wireless mic here on channel 1, on channel 2, and then my mains are going to be channel 5 and channel 6. This is where I'm going to plug in my mixer, right? So one of the very first things I want to teach you guys or show you guys is just, because, I had said earlier that it's very intimidating because you really don't know how to use it, right? Because there's so many things and so many buttons out here. So how do you go about moving everything, right? So I'm going to start off with like the mains. So in order to go into the mains, you have to tap in, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this. So bear with me, guys. I'm going to move the tripod a little bit. So you go into the main settings by hitting the channel up there. So that's how you get into it. Now, once you're in it, you're going to see a bunch of presets here that you can like mess with. If you hit this recall button, obviously it's going to load that handheld one, but that's not the right thing because it hasn't been recalled. So your effects are obviously going to be like whatever you want, like your delays, your whatever it is, whatever your reverb, whatever. But I really want to focus on the EQs over here. This is going to be the EQs for your main, and there's like different things that you can put that you're not used to traditionally seeing. So in order to simplify this, QSC made it super simple. So you just hit the simple button right here. You hit that, and it changed this bottom part of your rotary dials, right? So if I unselect that simple, what it's going to do is it's going to complicate things a little bit more. So I'm trying to hit this button. Okay, you see how this changes? It changes to gain, frequency, EQ, but QSC decided to put a simple mode in a language that for a DJ it's better kind of for us to understand. So if you're just running 2 speakers, right, and if you hit the simple button, which is what I'm trying to do, but my chubby fingers won't compute. There it is. So what it did is it changed the bottom to just what you recognize, the low, the mid, the high, mids, and high. You recognize it. So you can just tap on this and you can turn this rotary thing and it'll move it. And it'll turn up the lows or the highs, whatever the case may be for that one. And I wanted to show you this trick because if you're like very specific to how you want your sound to sound like, you can mess with this in an easier way, in a simpler way. So that's the first thing that I wanted to show you guys. The second thing I want to show you guys in relations to this is how to go about setting your sub, right? The cool thing about this Touchmix, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit, is that it has different outputs, right? Different outputs that you guys can utilize for your subs, and you can make them independent from your mains, right? So if you look all the way over here to my left, you see auxiliary 1, auxiliary 2, auxiliary 3, and 4. And then I'm going to go ahead and flip this over here. And you have auxiliary 1 here, auxiliary 2, 3, and 4, and then you have your main right and left. So how I usually set up my sound is I'm going to have my main left and my main right go directly to my tops. And let's say if you want independent controls of your sub, you can connect it to 1, 2, or 3, however you set it up. Or you could even have additional monitors that you can copy whatever's coming out of your left speaker onto like your aux 1, aux 2, aux 3, aux 4, etc. So again, there's different combinations of ways that you can connect it. For this purpose, if we could just use our imagination and close our eyes about the setup that we're having, what we're going to do is we're going to have 2 speakers and we're going to have 1 sub connected, right? So in order to connect the 2 speakers to 1 sub, what we're going to do is we're going to run these main left and rights to our left speaker and our right speaker, and we're going to run auxiliary 1 to our subwoofer. So with that said, all you have to do is follow the step-by-step process in the first video to have the speakers coming out of the main left and the main right. Now all we're doing now is we're going to go add the sub. So how do you do that? So you go to your home button, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can see it. You go to aux 1, and once you're here, you are going to click on over here to the right side where it says aux 1, and now you're in the aux 1 settings. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to name this. I'm going to go to the setup tab here, and I'm going to name it because I want to identify it as my subwoofer, okay? So here we go. So I'm going to put sub. So all I'm doing is I'm labeling it so I identify what the sub is, right? So now I'm in the sub settings, right? So you have the options here for pre-fader, and then you have the option for post-fader. What pre-fader does, I kind of like using pre-fader because it gives you independent controls of your sub. So you have the freedom to just control your sub independently from your main left and right mix, right? So once I have everything connected, if I want to just control my sub, what I do is I go to my sub right here, and I'm gonna move this a little bit. and I can turn down the sub and turn it up, and it won't impact my main left and right. My main left and right, where my speakers go to, it's still gonna have its independent sound, and I can control my tops. And then if I go to my sub, I'll be able to control my sub independently. Okay, so that's why I did what I did. So again, I'm gonna go to my sub setting and set it to post fader. And what post fader does is it copies the main mix controls. So now, again, this is a more complex kind of explanation of what this does. Right now, I'm in the sub settings. So I'm gonna go back and I'll show you how to do this. And this is very important for you guys to follow so you guys don't get feedback. So pretend you have your sub connected. You go to your sub here. And what you want to do is you want to go to the sub area, right? This is right now you're in the inputs for the sub, okay? So if you have your microphones connected, you want to mute the sound that's coming from your auxiliary input or your sub, because if you have, that's what gives you feedback, is that sub sound. So if you can mute it, then what that does is it turns off whatever's coming out of your wireless that's feeding into your sub. So right now I muted it, so I keep that off. If you mute your left and right, then it's gonna mute your sound sub only if you're in this parameter. So you don't want to mute the sub sound unless you want to mute it. Somebody asks you, oh, the sub's too loud, and you want to kick it on later. You can do that. Whatever, whatnot. Okay. So again, I'm on my main mix settings. The mute buttons were not affected. However, if I go to my sub settings, the mute buttons are. So this is your own independent mixer settings just for the sub. Okay. So I've talked to QSC engineers about what's the best way to set up my crossover when I have a subwoofer and when I have a top, right? So they said to me, you can either set up the crossover through my Touchmix, or you can set it up through my QSC speakers. This is specifically only if you have QSC gears. For my gigs, I usually take a KS112 sub and I take a K8.2 top. And what I was doing is I was setting up this way, where I would set up the crossover on here, and then I would just have it play from my speakers, right? And I talked to QSC and they said, no, don't do it that way. Specifically for QSC speakers, what we want you to do is do the crossover on the actual speaker. So you go on the speaker sub and you select that you want for 80 hertz, and on the top, you select that you have a sub and it's at 80 hertz, and that creates their own crossover. So let's say you don't have QSC speakers, right? And you're rocking a sub and you want to do the crossover manually. There's a way to do this. And in order to do this, you have to go into your sub setting. So you go to your sub setting. Once you go to your sub settings, you go to the high cut filter over here. And again, you're impacting the sound that you're giving the subwoofer, right? So what you do is you go to the high cut option here and you move the knob. You move the knob all the way down to whatever your sub recommended level for the QSC 112, it's 80. So I have it at 80. So what I'm doing now is I'm telling this mixer any sound that is higher than 80
hertz cannot pass through and be played on the sub. Only sounds lower than 80 hertz can be played through the sub, and those are the low end sounds.
And now let's do it for the tops. So what I do with the tops is I go here to my main, because this is a sound that I'm giving to my tops, and I don't want additional subs playing from my tops because it's going to make it sound weird. You want your sound to sound super clean. So what you do is you do a low cut filter on this one, and this is set at 120, but you want to give it to 80 because that's where you have it for now. So now I won't play any frequencies below 80, which is like the sub sound, like the boom. Now it's only going to set and play higher frequencies than 80 on your tops, and now you've successfully created a crossover. Again, the last setting to remember to move in your sub settings is your setup. You want to have it at post fader on your sub. That's where you want to have it in order for this crossover to work. So if you go back to the parametric EQ, you can see your high cut is at 80 for the lows again. And for your main mix, if you go to the setup for your main, you'll see the low cut is 80, and that's the recommended settings for my sub. You want to call your customer service department for your speakers. If you have really good speakers, you should, like JBLs, bangers, whatever's, RCFs. Call them and ask them what the recommended crossover frequency ranges are. Most subs and speakers already have these filters built in the subs that you can just do it themselves, but this is just in the event where you want to set it up for your Touchmix. And yeah, so again, doing it this way, I love to do it this way. Why? Because I have independent controls of my tops, and then when I want to turn it up on my sub, I'll just go here. I'll turn up the volume here because this is going to be my volume for my subs, main, left, and right. And then if I want it higher, I got you right here. Cool. So thanks for watching this video. I may post another video if you guys want more content about the Touchmix. I know it's a lot of detail, a lot of words, and I'm just saying I'm so confused. I'm so burnt out by these videos. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the content. Please like and subscribe. Take care, y'all. DJ Lemon out.